Hey folks, Professor Finn here, and today we're going to be looking at Chapter 10 in Ralph Klicker's Funeral Service Psychology and Counseling. Let's go ahead and get the presentation up, and let's talk about grief and family systems. Relatively short presentation. Families wrongfully believe that each member's grief will be similar. Remember, each death and relationship to the deceased is unique. It is important to recognize that their grief is affected by the relationships they have with each other and the emotional legacies that they have created as a family. Different patterns are affected by the degree to which family members are willing and able to anticipate and prepare for the loss, as well as the other general factors that come into play. Understanding family grief, therefore, is a task with multiple layers and interplay. Many factors contribute to differences among family members: individual perception of the loss, individual interpretations of the loss, individual relationship with the deceased, and individual relationships with other family members. Families are comprised of differing genders, ages, and backgrounds, which also add stressors to the environment, and different people will use different coping mechanisms. When my mother passed away, she left 2 children and a husband. Well, the age difference between myself and my sister was 15 years. As my sister was finishing high school, I was being born. That is a tremendous difference. My sister got to see my parents in a more traditional age, and I got to see them. My experience with them was much older, so they were in a different place in their life journey. So we have the difference in communication between myself and my sister. She would be a traditional baby boomer. I'm a Gen Xer. We have the fact that she had my parents when they were essentially in their late youth. It's odd to say late youth. They're probably in their 30s. And I was used to having my parents in their 40s or even early 50s. So completely different type of relationship. Cultural differences within a family can cause problems. Muslim couple converting to Methodism. So early in my career, when I was an apprentice, we had a service where a young lady passed away. She left behind her husband, no children. They were recently married, within a couple of years, and her family. Well, her and her husband converted from Islam to Christianity. They converted to the Methodist Church. And this created a lot of tension because all of her family were still Muslim. What ended up being resolved is they had a Methodist service at a Methodist church followed by a traditional Muslim burial. And that was probably a very unique and a once-in-a-career type of opportunity. Some members may never resolve the loss completely. End result is that there are many things happening simultaneously and intense emotions. Varying relationships and all the stressors can put intense strain on the family relationship. So some of the questions that have to be answered by the family are: what have we lost? What do we have left? And what may still be possible for us? This forces a family to recognize a reorganization over time, and members need to reinvest within the family. Your role is to encourage communication and facilitate building bridges. This is beneficial to everyone, including you, since you will be the hero. You will be the facilitator. Now, largely, you probably just have to sit back and let them talk to each other and provide the forum by which they can do that. Encouraging people to communicate and facilitate discussion allows them to easily share their viewpoints and beliefs. It is important to note that communication is essential to the family and that it is challenging to let someone talk while one listens. Everyone wants to share an opinion. Everyone wants to give their take on what to do. Everyone wants to say something. And yet, sometimes you just have to sit there and listen, which can be extremely hard if someone is speaking critically of you and you feel a need to defend yourself. But you have to have those honest conversations to determine what course of action you need to take as a family. So William Worden's dynamics. Functional position or role the deceased played in the family can affect grief in members. The greater the role, the more disturbance in the equilibrium of the family. Imagine if the matriarch of a family passes away and that person was the one that kept everyone talking to each other, and now that person is gone. All the lines of communication shut down. No one is talking to each other, and you have a disaster. Well, if that person that enforces the communication is still alive, but the breadwinner dies, you might still have communication among the family members to figure out what to do regarding the monetary situation. If both of those individuals go, you have a real disaster on your hand. An emotionally well-integrated family may show minimal grief reaction at the time of death, but members may respond later with various physical or emotional symptoms or some type of social misbehavior. It takes a little bit of time to hit once the change occurs. The value families place on emotions and the kinds of communication patterns that give a person permission to express feelings or not express feelings can affect mourning. Family that conspire to feelings of suppression may ultimately keep the individual from an adequate resolution of grief. They just carry it along with them forever and ever, and it eats away at them over time. Folks, that concludes this lecture. We will see you next video.